couple 100 feet off my driveway.
Somebody hit.
Let's do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Allison.
Road Commissioner Calhoun,
Present.
Chairman Christensen,
Present.
Road Commissioner Greenan,
Here.
Road Commissioner Joyce,
Here.
Road Commissioner Mikowski,
Here.
Road Commissioner Popa,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. Gets us down to approval of agenda, late additions or deletions. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that we
Second.
accept the agenda.
Is there support?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. Minutes. Do we have minutes?
Yes, it should be in front of you.
Ah.
Sorry, wrong.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
We have a motion. We have support. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have minutes. Brings us to public comment. Yeah, you want to read your,
Yeah,
that'd be-
sure, I won't read it, yeah, I'll hop in, keep real quickly. Yeah, thank
just
you
state,
so much.
just state your name and then go ahead. This was sent out via email to all of us, so we've had a little pre-look at it, but it'd be great if you read it into the record.
Okay, perfect, great. Hi, I'm Dawn Lund, 2458 North Manitou Trail, Leland, Michigan. I sent in a second letter talking about the court order. Basically, what the second letter states is, real simply, there's a court order that the level is to be maintained at the dam. Since 2017, that has shifted to be apparently maintained at the Narrows. The reason that is happening, it's not speculation, it's all over the minutes. There's pockets of people on the south end that have voluntarily built in wetlands. And so they're being conservative with the water level. The problem is it's been pushed too far. It's now affecting the other riparian right owners around the lake. Not all the people on the south end want it lower. There are people that want it higher. There's been interpretations of the order, legal interpretations of the order, and most curiously in 2019, it appears the authority didn't try to get an interpretation of the order. They tried to see if it could be changed. As you know, if you're following an order, you wouldn't want to have it changed. So I think it's kind of commonly known the order isn't being followed as written. So if you look to page 3 of the report, even within the own interpretation of moving it to the Narrows, it's almost always under the minimum. At least 50% of the time, the blue line, which is measured at the Narrows, has been documented to be under the minimum. So either interpretation shows the lake, as maintained at the dam, is too low. we would like to obviously have that addressed. It is harming the riparian rights of all the other owners on the lake. There is a compromise. Instead of coming here and talking about the interpretation, it looks like the new shift has always maintained the blue line as measured at the narrows at the very bottom of the court order. So it's like you're picking and choosing what wording to use out of the court order. You don't want to follow the wording that is as measured at the dam, but you're choosing the 2-inch variance and running that blue line as close to the bottom as possible. All throughout the minutes, it states there's about, under normal circumstances, a 2-inch variance between the green and the blue line. I understand rain events, I understand how water flows, I understand all that. But under normal circumstances, if you ran the blue line at the top of the court order, the green line would naturally run more closely to the bottom of the court order. And it's a compromise for both the north and the south end. You're never going to settle that debate. That debate was already settled legally with the court order of where it should be maintained while it's flowing. The history shows it was once maintained there. You go right under the bridge and see there's an old piling there and the stain mark on the bridge wall there. So it was once maintained there. The shift has occurred in 2017. It's out of the legal interpretation of the court order. You have that in front of you over 3 times. And so I think instead of debating which interpretation is correct, I think a compromise is reasonable to request, to run that blue line at the top of the court order, run the green line closer to the bottom of the court order, and try to maintain within the court order as best as possible. I'm also inquiring today if this issue will actually be addressed. I'm busy, you're busy. I don't want to waste my time with the authority here. If this issue isn't going to be directly addressed, I will just, go to step 2. And I want to follow the proper chain. I've had great conversations with John. Jerry was kind enough to speak with me. I'm trying to do the right things. I'm trying to follow the proper chain of command here. And I'm trying to seek a compromise. We don't need to settle who's right, who's wrong. And you'll never settle the north and south end, I get that. But not everybody on the south end wants it lower. There's many that want it higher as well. So thank you for your time. And I do wish if you would let me know if you do plan to settle this so I can continue onward, but through the proper channels. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Were you able to get that?
Yeah, it was recorded, but just.
Anyone else want to make a public comment? Seeing none, it gets us down to communication items. I think you got in an email that our most recent triennial report is complete. Spicer did that and has delivered it.
Is there just one?
Did that get to everybody, the triennial report?
Emailed out, and we're going to have copies.
It just came recently.
Yeah, I saw the email.
Allison, I don't know if I forwarded that to you yesterday. Maybe you could forward it on.
I did.
Okay, so that was very recent. So it should be in everybody's inbox on email, and if you need a hard copy, we can make that for you.
It's like 180 pages, so I double-sided this one. I can run them, and you guys can pick them up.
I don't know if everybody wants a copy, but I'd like a copy. I've got those all together and.
I handed one to Wayne, and he's got it in front of him, and he's pawing through it. You'll probably want that.
What's that?
You'll probably want that copy?
You'd like it to have it, it goes into the other 15 I have.
Okey doke. Maybe at the end of the meeting, whoever wants one can just queue up and Allison will burn a copy for you. And that's the triennial report from Spicer.
It'll be on the website also.
Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be on the website, so that's more efficient. Visual inspection of the dam, review of previous reports and plans indicate that the dam and its permanent structures are in satisfactory overall condition, which is the highest rating we can get. So, that's the long and the short of
Steve,
it.
can you speak in this? I can't quite hear you.
I'm sorry. Visual inspection of the dam and review of previous reports and plans indicate that the dam and its structures are in satisfactory overall condition. Satisfactory is the highest that we can get.
I can hardly hear you.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Is
like,
this working?
touch the tip of it. Yeah, you just gotta be like 2 inches from it.
You have to talk into it.
All right. One more time. Visual inspection of the dam and review of previous reports and plans indicate that the dam and its structures are in satisfactory overall condition. And satisfactory is the highest that we can get. So anyway, that'll be on the website. Any other communication items? Seeing none, brings us down to the purpose of meeting discussion, potential action items on. Number 1, update on measurements of sensors and staff gauges. John, maybe you can address that. We were going to try to see if we could get some help from County Road Commission, but they're a little busy right now, so that kind of fell through. John, maybe you can address that a little bit.
Okay, I presented at the last meeting the summary of all these readings. I'm sure you have that in front of you. But it's what I found at each one. And so I called Vicky. The one that we gotta actually have a transit for is the one at the Narrows. And she had a close friend that passed away. She said she wouldn't be back till the middle of this week, and she'll contact me. I contacted our highway engineer. He could do it, but he's so busy now that I can't pull him away from the road commission stuff. So we're just gonna have to wait and get Vicky. It's only gonna have to be a transit elevation thing, and when she gives me a date, I'll get a hold of everybody who wants to be there. Yeah, because we're gonna go out, and I went to the gauge sensor that's in the river by our boxes, and I have a nice stake there, and it'll be an easy one to measure there. And then she can swing over to the abutment, and then she can swing over and measure the water. And that should only take an hour or two. And if we have authorization for payment, it shouldn't cost between $200 and $500. That was her last ones. But she set up a big GPS with the last ones, and this one only has to be a transit reading. So anyway, I have nothing to update. We didn't go out like we thought we were gonna. She wasn't available, and so I can't say anything. However, I did want to make a comment that the one at the Narrows, we don't use that to maintain the Narrows or to maintain the lake level. Jerry just uses it as a tool. And in answering Dawn's comment, yes, we do plan on settling this thing with the lake level and how we're going to read it and how we're going to do it. But we need a few more pieces of information first. We're not going to let this drop. So we don't have that information, and we can just keep stuff as it is.
Thanks, John. I double checked. It looks like we have that amount of money in the budget, so we will be able to move forward on getting these measurements. And it's the staff gauge at the Narrows and the sensor at the Narrows. And we'll be able to set the sensor on the south end because we have proper survey done there, and we have a rod in place, so we can set that sensor. In the interim, Jerry's going to hold a couple extra inches of water in the system because it looks like that's probably where we're going to end up, but just in the interim, we're going to hold a little extra water in the system, about 2 inches. So anyway.
We'll wait till it's freezing and blowing and snowing before we go do this. That's what we're waiting for.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully it's before that. But anyway, so we're moving forward on it. We are going to address it. So any other comments with regard to the update of the sensors and staff gauges? Hearing none, moves on to item 2. John wanted to have this on, so it got added in. Fee for on-site visit with MDEQ for Leland River entrance. Actually, that's Leelanau.
It is. I put that on the agenda because that subject keeps popping up of what are we going to do about the entrance to this river. And Steve and I were on a committee when we built it 18 years ago, and Wayne knows about it too, of how much water was being held back by the shallowness of the entryway. And at that time, we hired our dam engineer, and I think we spent 10 grand, and he did a cross-section of that river of what it would take to pass 1,200 cubic feet a second. So there was a lot of discussion.
That's a 200-year event.
Pardon me?
That's a 200-year event.
200-year event, correct. Keep in mind that the FEMA thing that went around, it also included Lake Leelanau, and that was a 100-year event. And they said in a 100-year event, the lake could rise 1 foot. And when we designed this dam, it was to pass 1,200 cubic feet a second with a 1 foot rise in elevation. I just want to briefly summarize as quick as I can the discussions that we had that started in June. Wayne came in, and Wayne Wunderlich expressed concern that the mouth of the river has been filling in, and it's about 5 times as long now to lower the lake because of that restriction. And at that time, we said if we have an engineering study and it confirms that dredging is needed, then we'll do it. And Christensen explained that we're trying to find out if the dam authority has authority to do anything in that river. And it turns out we don't. We're just in charge of the dam. And then it came up the next meeting, Jeff Green, surprisingly, he came up and he came with a bunch of ammunition and said we need to consider analyzing that flow of that Narrows and how does that affect how quickly the lake can be adjusted. And at that time, we still didn't do anything. Then some more letters were written and people were concerned about it. And he says, if we're going to repair this dam, we recommend dredging the Leland River just to maintain a good flow over it. And that was June 4th. Then we hired Perhoda, who was our engineer, to provide a recommendation about that entrance. Bowen advised that the Lake Leelanau Narrows were dredged, the Narrows, not the river, in '82, but nothing was done with the Leland River. And I want to emphasize that because everybody says, well, we dredged them both. We didn't. We only did the Narrows in '82, right? You even mentioned that. And so we got a living proof that it was never done either. He suggested that they give all the controls at the dam as needed, but if water can never get there, then it can't work at full capacity for a 200-year flood. Then he did his engineering study, and we got the results March 1st, which was darn near a year later. And he talked about the depths, the radiuses, how much it's full of mud, and it could pass all that in a 200-year flood, but it would completely wash out everything that's in that entryway, and the water wouldn't go down that fast, but it would fill that whole river with all the sand that's in the lake. In summary, the Leland River, as it exists today, will not pass a 200-year flood event unless the lake level rises well above 1 foot. This thing was designed to have a 1 foot head above our normal lake level, and then our dam would process it. So then we talked about it again. We had a brief discussion. What are we going to do about this 200-year event that was presented at the last meeting? And I had question of what is significant, and Christian explained that a 200-year event was significant, but that at that time, when we discussed this, the lake could rise as much as 2.5 feet with the restriction in the river. And we thought about that a lot. And we said, well, if it's going to rise 2.5 feet, it's going to wash out the entrance to the river, and all that silt and sand will go down there, and it'll get rid of the water, but it will not restrict it to a 1 foot. So people should know that if something isn't done to that entrance of that river, that 200-year event, which none of us have ever experienced, that shoreline could have 2.5 feet of water around it, not 1 foot. FEMA estimates 1 foot at a 100-year flood. We estimate 1 foot if the dam works properly. Also, keep in mind, and I think Jerry knows this, that dam will handle it, but it also includes removing all the boards, not just that 25-foot gate. That dam, as designed, has boards on one side, we call them boards, and a regulating gate. But if we get a 200-year, or even a 100-year, or anything, those boards are designed to come out to maintain that level. But there's going to be a lot of sand washing down. So that's what I looked up on that, and so I put this on the agenda in talking with the DEQ. She said, I'll come up there and meet with you and look at what my recommendations would be if we had to dredge it. I keep saying dredging. One, this dam authority doesn't have authority to that entryway. It was only that if we want to pass a 200-year flood, what would happen? And when we were done with all this, we said, let it wash out. It's going to fill up and it's going to flow and the water will go out. And we weren't that concerned about it plugging up or anything else. But in our discussions now, we have a lot to think about. How are we measuring our lake level and how does this affect it? And after we had these sensors looked at and calibrated, we were going to get 3 people and do a test with Jerry and say, okay, let's start a clock and then lift it up and just see how long would he have to hold a gate up to measure that at the proper lake level. And we haven't done that yet. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to do that till spring, until we get our sticks calibrated, know where we're at on level, lift it up. There's some people that would go out there and have radios and would time it every little bit and that. And so we can still measure the court-ordered level at the dam, but with the entrance plugged up and a lot of water, it's difficult. And so we have these sensors around that kind of tell us what's happening, and Jerry does his darn best to keep it there. But we've got a few things that we want to improve to get there. And we're going to be lowering this lake here pretty soon, because in 15 days it has to be at the winter level. So we can still survey the sensors and get that ready, but I think if we're going to do a flow test and stuff, we'll have to wait till warmer weather. Again, I couldn't get our engineer out to do it because he's busy. So that's my story. Oh, back to the fee. So Robin, she wanted me to say, hey, if you want me to come up there, and I know she was going to come up and visit you there. She said, if you want me to come up there and give some advice, you got to put in an application for an on-site visit, not application for a permit. They like to follow everything by records and stuff. I met this person over there that wants to build a lighthouse. So she said to fill out fill out a request to meet me on site, and then I'll be there. But it's $100. So I was gonna come here and say, can we spend $100 and have her meet one of us and said, what do I gotta do with it? You want us to take the sand and dump it here on the beach? Do you wanna haul it to the county landfill? Do you wanna dump it in the middle of the lake? Do you want it out of there? And she would say no to a lot of it and yes to a lot of it. But before we would go ahead and set up dredging plans, I'd like to see what we'd have to do. And if there was gonna be dredging plans, then an engineer would have to be hired, like maybe Spicer or something. You know, I mentioned that. And he's good at saying, yeah, I'd do that. Someone would have to write up the specs. We're gonna have to do 800 feet of it. I need 10,000 yards removed. This is where you'll place it. These are the permits you're gonna need, and yada, yada, and then go out for bids. Then take it to the county board, or not take it to the county board. There's some people that are willing to help back this up. I'll put those words in there, the idea of it. But I gotta meet with her first. And I don't know how everybody feels on it, but I would like the county to pay meeting with Robin, because I think there's a big issue here that's part of the county's responsibility on are we measuring the lake correctly, and can it handle a 200-year event? And
We can open that up for discussion, I guess.
what's that?
I guess the point that John's making is he wants to know from this group if we want to okay an application for Robin to come and look at the mouth of the river. And I don't know, I guess I can throw my 2 cents in right up front. It's premature for us, in my estimation. We don't, as far as a flow study, we don't even have a flow study that would recommend or lead to a recommendation of dredging. We don't have that. So the only way we could be looking at the possibility of anything would be to look at doing a hydrologic flow study. And we tried that 6 years ago, and the county board almost let us, but then voted no, don't do that. So we didn't do it, so we put sensors in. A flow study might lead us toward the ability to manipulate the dam and have the response be a little quicker. That might be something that we could look at, but we're tasked with controlling the lake level as per court order. And the response time between letting water out and having the level be where it's supposed to is the question. And we can, at this point in time, manipulate the dam and get the lake to the proper level. Do we need to do a flow study to see if we can shorten that time frame or not? That's kind of the question. But without a flow study, I don't see us having anything to do with buying a permit or buying an application for Robin to do a look-see about dredging. We're not anywhere near that in my estimation, but I don't think it's appropriate for us to be paying for that at this point. That's my opinion.
My question is, right now, are we following the court order at the dam?
Yes. Yes, I just said we've got an extra couple inches in. Jerry's going to keep an extra couple inches in. We're going to get the staff gauge measured, and then we'll know for sure then with the technique that's being used whether we're following court order.
So when I said that, when I made that statement or asked that question, I looked at the audience, and Mrs. Lund looked and she shook her head no.
That's because of where we've been the last whole summer, the dry summer. And all of what we've ever done is to maintain court-ordered lake level. That's all we've ever done and tried to do. Were we a bit low this last summer? That's a real possibility with that staff gauge being maybe inaccurate, and that's part of how Jerry manipulates the lake level in the dam, is between the staff gauge at the dam and the staff gauge at the Narrows. Now, if that Narrows staff gauge is actually in the wrong position, or a position that we assumed was one thing and is actually another, that'll affect how this dam is manipulated and the lake level is kept. Our entire intent has always been maintain lake level, and that's all we've ever done. Were we low this summer a bit? Yeah, it's kind of looking that way. We've got a lot of evidence, and we've got a lot of people saying that, hey, things have been low. And yeah, maybe they have been. But we've always maintained lake level according to
Well,
court
and
order.
I have no doubt in Jerry's abilities at all, none. He does a great job. But why couldn't we use some of Mrs. Lund's insight of what she's seen and take some of her ideas, and maybe instead of going back and forth of who's right, who's wrong, and try to brainstorm and figure out a way that we could get it to where all parties are happy. If there's, what's that?
I don't think you'll ever get all parties.
Well, maybe not, but the biggest thing is to make sure that our court order is followed, and I'm just saying, I don't know exactly, I haven't looked at what she has for information, but, because I just got the email late, but I would like to know if there's a way that, maybe we could do it where we're not putting the cart before the horse, if you will. If there's maybe an easier way that we could get this to where we need to be, that also kind of, I don't know, makes some of the people happy, because we're not going to make everybody happy. But my biggest thing is to make sure we're following that court order the best that we can. So.
Well, back to that subject on that fee, I'm gonna meet with Robin, and I'll pay for it, but I'm not gonna like it. And it might come back, then I'll have this receipt, and we'll see what she has to say, and we'll visit the subject again. I'll talk to the Lake Association and all that, because there's a lot of people on the lake that want it for recreation passage too and stuff. And anyway, so if we're not willing on this board to spend $100, I'll spend it. If you guys think we're willing to spend $100, do it. We may get chewed out. I don't know.
I'm just saying that I think we're putting the cart before the horse. And, are you doing that as a board member, or are you doing that as an individual who lives on the lake?
Well, I'm doing it only to see if there's any possibility of ever opening that up. If there is no possibility, and there's no place we can do it, and there's no place that we can dredge it, then we'll just go with the natural flow of the river during a storm event.
And do you think that she's going to be able to give you that answer in one visit?
She'll tell me where she'd agree to put the spoils. She might just say, haul it away and do what you want.
Well, I think John has gone through that. And thanks, Bob, for the comment. Any other comments with regard to item 2?
Yeah, on this, I think I need to say that I agree with Bob that we need to strive to comply with the court order, given the weather conditions as much as possible. I don't know that we actually have the authority to look at dredging, if that's within the authority of the dam authority or not. I don't know, and it's probably worth asking that question. But looking at the data from 2016 to the current date, to me, it's pretty obvious that there has been a change in the either the sensors or the hydrologic conditions. If you go back and look at the 2016-2017, the South Lake and the Narrows were at the upper range of the legal lake level. At the dam, it was at the minimum legal limit, and as time goes on, those have diverged where the elevation at the dam is lower than the narrows in the South Lake, which was not as much of a factor 5-6 years ago. So I think it's warranted that there be a hydrologic study, but I'm not sure that's within the purview of the dam authority to do.
Any other comments with item 2?
I think we need to get a little more clarification, what, as an authority, we can do.
John?
Jim, in the resolution, when they created the dam authority, the words are written very briefly. We're going to have a dam authority that has the authority to build and maintain the dam and maintain the water level. And that was it. Real simple words. Maintain.
Okay, it doesn't say anything about
No,
dredging or
no,
anything.
it doesn't.
So why would we wanna meet with Robin until we get that cleared up?
Well, there's some citizens that might want it dredged.
Yeah, I think on the private side, John, if you go on the private side, you're fine. I
Yeah.
mean, that's nothing that we can control. If you're going to meet with her as a private citizen or a Lake Association member, or however you want to phrase it, it just can't be as a dam authority.
In closing this out, Mr. Chairman, then I went back and looked all the way back to 2016 when we were surveying at the Narrows and stuff. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, I got 7 different readings. And the average of that shows that that stick is off. It varied depending on who wrote it down, but even measuring it now, it's off. But what was really interesting is I got a copy of that Narrows Bridge from the state that was put in. And I had this for the last few years, and that bridge was put in, I don't know, I think it was put in 38 or 39, but then they went and set a benchmark in 1954, and they measured the water surface at that time, and it was 589.02. And we maintained this lake level at 589.21. So in 54, from that benchmark, they measured the lake level. And that's, a lot of people ask where we got this number, and Wayne can probably remember, because when Brown and Root did their study, they recommended that 589.21. It was done by the county surveyor in 1978, and it corresponds to a reading of such and such on the gauge at the existing dam, and therefore they set it at that time. And Wayne probably knows, at that time, that's what everybody agreed to. That's the survey mark. That's where it was at that time. And it was estimated that there was sometimes only a 2 to 4 inch drop in the river flow at that time from what the normal lake level is. And that was at normal flow. And so that's how someone always wonders where it came up with. And it was from there, and it might have even come from the state of Michigan, because it was 589.02 at the Narrows. It was 589.21 at the dam, and Lake Association, and everybody agreed that that's what we were going to have. And that's where it came from. And so he put it in a court order. And I think I repeated it many times. I even got a legal opinion. It would take an arm and a leg and public hearings to go to circuit court to change it. Anything else, what you want to do. We just got to improve our readings, like Bob said, to maintain it. So that's the only reason I brought it up. End the speech.
Okay, that brings us to item 3, quarterly meeting dates for 2023. As a note, the committee met for structure of dam authority, and the recommendation that's going to the county board from that meeting is one member from the County Road Commission, one member from the County Board of Commissioners, myself, and two at-large entities, two at-large people. So it'll go through a similar process of all the other committees and authorities and commissions for the county, where people will make application to be on certain board like the dam authority. So that's the recommendation that's going to the county board, and I believe they'll probably pass that. But anyway, that being said, we need to set dates, the quarterly dates for this coming year. Allison, do you have, when we set this 2022, did we have quarterly meetings?
Yes. Your first one was in February. You did February, July, so they did an organizational in February along with the regular meeting.
Was it, in February, was it the first Tuesday?
Well, as it is now, they were normally going around, I believe, road commission meetings. So,
That might make sense because we're going to have one member from road commission. And the road commission is what?
First and third.
First and third Tuesdays.
So should we put the first meeting for the first Tuesday in February?
so that'd be the 7th.
Does that sound good?
It does. I think in the winter, we're back to a 1 o'clock meeting in the afternoon. So if we want to say our first meeting is at 10 o'clock that day, and then we can set the schedule for the rest of the year if you want to.
That might be a good idea. That'll
10
be
o'clock on the 7th.
That'll be
Yeah.
our first meeting.
10
and our
a.m.
Organizational meeting.
on the 7th. That'll
And
be an
usually those
organizational
meetings
meeting, and
is
then,
when we set our schedule.
yeah, that's a good idea. It'll be a new setup, a new board, and we can set our schedule.
So that is just going to be the organizational? Is that what you're setting?
Yeah, just set the one. And from that, we can set the other 3 meetings for 2023.
So
Does that
it'll be
sound
February
good?
7th at 10?
Yep, February 7th at 10 a.m. Sound good? Any
So you're not
discussion?
setting one to follow that the same day?
No,
Because of
I think the new board will,
Okay.
the new dam authority will,
Yep. And this is
Go
all
ahead.
subject to the availability of the clerk and the room.
right,
She has
Alice,
to check on that also.
yeah, Allison will reserve the room.
Well, the board hasn't set their meetings yet for 2023. They won't do that, I believe, till December. So
That may be a conflict.
it could be, but normally that usually the executive will be the second Tuesday.
Okay,
So I don't think that.
going in, it looks okay. If it is different, we'll have to change it. If we run into a conflict. All right, we've got a meeting. That brings us down to the next item, which is public comment. Wayne, would you like to
Yeah, just a brief.
just sit up there, state your name? Yeah, state your name and go ahead.
Wayne Wunderlich, I live over in the Lake, the East Rhinos way. Interesting, really interesting. And I thank you for the efforts that the dam authority has been doing. There seems to be a blending of issues here for me, and that is the level readings have always been problematic ever since the first construction was done in repair. And there's always been the business of trying to do it in the middle and keep it in the middle. And
for the most part, things have worked out pretty well. This last rainfall, I had 5.5 inches of rain in my rain gauge from the last week, a couple of days. That's a lot of water on 8,000 acres of lake. However, what John is talking about, I can see a blending here of coming to a consensus on whether the flows can improve quicker and maintain better in the narrows and on the south end by having that the mouth of the river opened up. As far as the $100 go, I understand your problem. My problem is nobody says who has the authority to do this. The state, they can tell you go ahead and dredge it. You're going to have to tell the township that. Because this high tire North Lake is in Leland Township. And I think that, I suspect either myself or John, or maybe Jim, could put it to the Lake Association Board in an effort to come to some sort of solution to it, at least from the DNR's perspective, to cough up $100 and have her come out and talk to the Lake Association and John, who's trying to represent some of the issues here. I'm just putting that in front of you because that seems to be a simple way to get a look-see from the DNR on the perspective of the riparians and the lake owners, the Lunds and everybody else, so that we get some compromise comes here out of this, and it's very effective in keeping with the court order. There's always an issue of maintaining versus where do you read it. I mean, you could put a pump in at the south end and maintain the level down there. It's a matter of maintaining. And the court order doesn't say measure it at the dam, it says maintain the level at the dam. That's an issue that's always argued. But I think we can come to get something done in the sense of get them out here, take a quick look at it on behalf of the Lake Association, because it's a water safety issue and navigation issue for a lot of the people on the lake. Okay, that's all. I think we can work together here, and see maybe from the Lake Association's perspective that this would help resolve some of the issues. That's all. Thank you for what you've been doing.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Super quick. First of all, very respectfully, I would say that you do have the data currently to maintain at the dam. It's right on the Leelanau Lake Association's website. You can literally go there, look at the data that's there. It clearly shows the court order as written is not being followed, which states maintained at the dam. It doesn't say measured, it says maintained. So the data is right there. You can look at it daily. It hasn't been just this one dry season. It's literally been since 2017. There's a clear shift in following the blue line, which is at the narrows, not the green line. So I do appreciate the efforts, that you're stating that the level will come up a couple inches. A compromise would be coming up 3 inches compared to what it's been historically low. So it sounds like you're verbally saying you're moving in the right direction. We can keep an eye on that by looking at the sensors, which we determined are correct. There's tick marks on the bridge that corroborate with the sensors and the naturally occurring measurements there. So the last thing would be accountability. There hasn't seemingly been accountability following the court order since 2017. There's talk of a new board. How do we ensure the new board will have accountability to not slip back and bring that level down like it has been? So I think it'd be really important to have long-term accountability stated. And I do think, as Wayne said, there is a compromise out there. The compromise is run that blue line at the top of the court order, run the green line at the bottom of the court order. I completely understand rain events and those types of things. It's not going to be perfect, but Jerry's doing a pretty darn good job right now of running that at the very bottom, the blue line at the very bottom of the order. I'm sure he can do a decent job of running it at the top of the court order. So thank you, and again, I'm just seeking a compromise. both people can stay within their interpretation of the court order, both sides, if you will. But there also needs to be long-term accountability. Thank you.
Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Name's Jerry Cullen, maintenance. Regarding the level at this point in time with which we're going to check the gauges at the bridge and at the dam. And if I remember, the gauge at the dam and the gauge under the bridge were set at the same height. At one time, they were set at the same height for engineers. So this morning, well, Saturday night, I raised the gate from 8'8" to 9 foot, basically 2 inches, because I felt we had let enough water into the rain we had, because it was at 9, 4.5 or something like that under the bridge, the rain. So as of this morning, went and checked the both gauges, one via computer with a camera we have down at the dam, check inside, and that's at the 9 foot mark where I set the gate. It was 9 feet on Saturday night, okay, and under the bridge it's 9 feet 2 inches. So that's my 2 inch, because that was at a dead calm this morning, like I've always maintained, that there is a 2 inch difference between the dam and the bridge distance, okay? So that came out this morning on a good day, no wind, early morning. So as the gauges are set right now, that's where we're at, okay? Whether they're right or wrong, we're gonna find that out, get that fine tuned, which will help. Regarding the dredging, I will say, I talked to Mr. Collins, and back when I was 12 years old, 10 years old, used to go out on the small dock under the bridge in Leland, and we always used in the spring to watch the trout come in. Okay, large trout. Okay, and that changed over the course of decades, of course. And reasoning from fishermen and whatnot was the silt and whatnot that's built up in the Leland River to the point of, there's no stone. I mean, it used to have stone bottom, of course, back in the day. We used to have a boat. Used to go from Leland to South Lake Leelanau to the river products. Used to keep the river feed out along the narrows because it was a straight product, right? And so to dredge the mouth of the Leland River only and not consider doing the whole river, I think would be a disservice and waste of, if you're going to spend the funds, you have it set up, the thing to do is to do the whole river and go that route instead of just the mouth, because there's issues. And the other thing I want to mention, I am no engineer, don't test me, but I know plumbing and whatnot, every time you put in a Y, or I should say a curve, instead of a straight line, every time you have a change, slows down the flow in your system. That's a given, that's for real. So the Leland River is not a straight shot from the mouth to the dam. So when we've had large events, I've pulled boards, and when I've opened the gate, I don't see a whole lot of silt and stuff coming with that. It's clear water above it and what's coming out. So for the engineers to say that we get an event, 5, 6, 7 inches, the one year when I had 9 feet 6 inches in the Leland River, I couldn't go down to 11 o'clock at night to pull boards with my wife. I don't see that river being washed. It just isn't going to happen. I haven't seen it happen. You're not going to get, unless you have a straight shot, straight tube, you're not going to flush that river out, because every bend's going to slow that down. It's just going to flow calmly and do its thing. So for anybody to say it's going to get scoured, it's not going to happen. It just physically will not happen. Unless you have 100 feet of water and it comes rushing from the south end, boom, yeah, that's a different story. So regards to the ladder, I haven't heard back. I know it's been built, it's been powder coated, and I'm waiting for a call. We're ready to go. It's just a matter of the contractor. So I'm hoping when the weather turns here in a few weeks. But other than that, I will grease the gate in the spring when I'll be closing it up. I can even grease it, put the ladder in, because I have to raise the gate up tight so we can get out there. Anyway, right now, that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared. Authority member comments? Unless there's more public comment. Seeing none, authority member comments?
Yeah, I do. Whatever it takes to make sure that we're in compliance. I don't know exactly who has the last say or what the authority can do or say, but by all means, I think we need to do everything we can to be in compliance, number one. So that's my comment.
I don't, I don't think we should involve the road commission engineer on this. He's got enough to do with road commission stuff. That's my,
Steve, excuse me, one more thing. In that court order, I do not know if I don't recall it saying, have to read it. We have an event, and I have the water level that could be kind one, which I'm looking at here in the future, when the time's down the dam. But I don't know if the court order states that when we have an event, I'm allowed to lower legally, bring it down below the court order for the season. We run into problems if I do that according to the court order, if I thought the court order word for word. I don't know. So do I have a right? Can I? I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but if we have to stick by the court order word for word, do that, then I'm limited. I know that I have to have water, we all understand that, but someone wants to feel kind about it, somebody from outside, all of us, and say, hey, you're not compliant, you have the right to go forward or something, I don't know. I know common sense rules here, but how do I play it? How do you want me to play it?
Right, I think,
That's what my interpretation of how long I'm going to leave it open, to draw down the water to the south end to alleviate the pressure that way.
right, and yeah, thanks, Jared. I think a lot of the comments and Wayne's and everybody's in the room have been circling around the whole ability of us to maintain the quarter of the lake level at the dam and what manipulations have to be done to do that. And we've got quite a few years of experience. We've got 40 years, and it looks like we're going to be carrying more water in the system to maintain court-ordered lake level. And I think that's where we're heading with what we're doing. As far as manipulating up and down to maintain it, we get a bunch of water, we have to let some water out. We have less water, we have to pick up the dam and keep water in. I mean, it's a balancing act that we've been doing over the years, and Jerry's, I think, done a great job at it, and we're going to adjust it at this point in time to do what I think Bob said, and I agree, Bob, to maintain court-ordered lake level. We have to do that. We have to carry more water in the system, plain and simple. So, anyway, that was, I guess, my comment. Any other authority member comments? Quickly, John.
Allison needs to know who wants a hard copy of this inspection report. You have the original?
I have a copy, I'm good. Wayne's got one, he's good. John is getting one.
Here's one here. Is this your copy?
You can have it.
Okay, then I'm satisfied. If anybody wants one, you gotta see
And
Al.
there, it'll be online, so you can print it yourself, or whatever parts of it you want.
I would like to take a look at one.
It's,
One-
she
one-
sent it out on everybody's
for
computer
Jim.
yesterday.
Yeah, so she's gonna
I'd
do
like
one,
a hard
one for Jim.
copy.
Okay, sure.
Any others? I think we're good. Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Do you need this?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Take a couple of minute break.